What was the highest and lowest rated book you read this year on Goodreads? Okay, the lowest rated book is probably... This one just didn't work for me. However, I did read this book in a night because I also couldn't put it down. I'm gonna be doing a book tag today. I was watching Rachel's video and she got her questions in her book tag video from Destiny. So I'm gonna be using those questions and I'm gonna link both of their videos down below. So if you wanna go watch those. Destiny, I think, asked her followers on Instagram to just ask her random questions and they came up with some really good ones. So I have a screenshot of them here, all of them, and we're just gonna go through them. I'm gonna be standing for this, so if I have the book, I can grab it hopefully from this shelf or that shelf over there, or it might be in the other room. But let's get straight into it. The first question is, most disappointing read of the year. Ooh, most disappointing read of the year. Here's the thing, I'm gonna have to go through my Goodreads as well because I've read 186 books so far this year. I can't keep that all straight. Oh, I have it. The book I'm about to show you. I don't mean to hurt anybody's feelings. It just wasn't a book that worked for me, but I can see how people love it. I had such high hopes going into this. I read this in a video. I think I rated it 2.5 stars, 2 stars. It wasn't my favorite, and I don't think it was because I didn't like the characters. I really enjoyed the characters. I just think it was a tad boring for me, very slow, and I didn't necessarily love the storyline, which if you don't vibe with like the political forbidden romance type thing, you're not gonna love the book, you know? That's just not something I normally ever like in a book. I'm the problem here. That's what I'm saying. Underdog book of the year. Underdog book of the year. Let me pull up my Goodreads again. This video is gonna take forever because I'm gonna have to pull up my Goodreads every 2 seconds. This might not be the correct answer. I think I understand the question, but I also might not. I think I'm gonna say Kings of the Wild. I think a lot of people, especially people that follow me, won't read this book because it doesn't have romance in it, and a lot of people who follow me are romance readers because I primarily talk about romance. This is a fantasy book, absolutely no romance in it, just fantasy, and I don't hear enough people talking about it on the internet. I genuinely love this book. I was in a fantasy mood back in, I think, July, and I went to Barnes & Noble kind of with the mindset of I just want to pick a book I don't know anything about. I want to read the back of books, find one that just sounds fun, and then get it, because that's what I used to do when I was 10 years old. I don't do that as much anymore. I went in there, read the back of this book first, and I was like, I'm gonna get it. And it was so funny. It's like this group of old retired bandmates. They were in a band, but not like a band, like a rah band. Like they beat the shit out of creatures and whatever in this magical kingdom. All these older, drunk, fat men were past their glory days, and they get the band back together to go help and save one of the guy's daughters. And it was just fun and hilarious, and the guys were so funny, and I thought the author was really witty with their writing, and I really liked it. And I don't hear enough people talking about this book. A book that was overhyped. Ew, God, this, like, I love sharing my opinion on the internet. I feel like oh, this one. I read this in a video. I did not love this book. I thought it was very overhyped, but also I'm someone who normally doesn't say like, oh my God, this book was overhyped. I just use the verbiage of it just didn't work for me. So I will, like, this is the book I'm gonna pick for this, but I just don't think it was the book for me. I don't necessarily think it was overhyped. I think the people who liked it, they're valid in their opinions. It worked for them, and that's great. I didn't really love the ending of it. Just wasn't my taste. Fave book couple of the year? How are you gonna do that to me? This is like difficult. What are you doing? Okay, I have it. You know what? We're gonna pick 2. This is one of my favorite books of the, actually these are both Two of my favorite books of the year. Rival Physicist, and then completely different end of the spectrum, two serial killers. Butcher and Blackbird, Rowan and Sloane, Love Theoretically, Elsie and Jack. Fave main characters of the year. Elm. Ah! Sometimes I forget Elm is literally a ginger. That's just funny to me, because I was picturing him brunette, and then they said it's red hair. And I was like, how did I miss that? I love gingers. I love gingers. But you just go in from a shift of like, I was picturing a brunette boy, and then I totally overlooked the fact that he was a ginger, and I was like, ginger? Ooh, ooh. Do I have any other favorite characters? Definitely Theo and Winter in Reckless. They were really great. I'm trying to see if there's any specific on this shelf. Yeah, that's kind of it. A book that surprised you. Less of a book that surprised me. This is more of a book that I was just surprised that I liked so much. Tender is the Flesh. I can't get this book out of my head. I believe I read this book in the summer or maybe in the spring. I can't stop thinking about it. It's so fucking insane. And the dystopian nature of it and the cannibalism in it, I did not think I would like it at all. And I loved it a lot. If you have a weak stomach, don't read this book, because it's a lot. If you don't have a weak stomach and you're interested in like dystopian and cannibalism, fascinating read. Also, horrifying read. New favorite author that I discovered in 2023. I want to say Brynne Weaver, because I didn't read Brynne Weaver's books until this year. I have read Butcher and Blackbird by Brynne, as well as Marrow and Black Sheep. Marrow and Black Sheep and this one all are books that I would recommend if you enjoyed the Mindfuck series. There's definitely more humor and not as much intricate emotional detail in her books as there was the Mindfuck series. But I loved them, and I thought they were all three a lot of fun. This one is definitely my favorite. I gave this one like 6 out of 5 stars, where the other ones I gave them 3.5, 4 stars. But I really love Brynne's writing. It's just so fun and engaging. And also funny at the same time, which given the circumstances of the book, you're like, why am I laughing? And if you like dark romance, I really think you'll like this author's books. Happiest Read of the Year. We gotta go to Goodreads. Happiest Read of the Year? Not to be basic, but I want to say Love Theoretically. I think I'm gonna say Love Theoretically. Not to be basic or anything, guys. This book just made me so happy. Like, genuinely so fucking happy. Most frustrating book that I read in 2023. Ooh, I have one. I'm gonna say Manhunt by Vanessa Valle. The only reason why this book was so frustrating to me was because of the mention of size difference between the FMC and the MMC. I can do a mention of size difference, you know, like a couple times where you're like, he was a larger man and she was small. But I felt like in this book, it was so over-mentioned to where it was like almost fetishy and kind of creepy to me personally. So I finished it, I read it in a night. It was a very quick and easy read, but I was genuinely so frustrated throughout this entire book. And the only reason why I didn't DNF it was because I started it at like 11 p.m. at night. And it was like a stage where I was like, I don't want to start another book. It's fine. I'll just overlook it. But I remember being very frustrated with this book because of kind of the fetishization. It just felt a little weird that she was mentioned to be so small 6,000 times. Best adaptation of the year. I do not really watch television, so I especially didn't watch any adaptations of books. Longest book you read this year. Ooh, buddy. I'm gonna say this one because I think this was the longest book that I read. Shortest book you read this year. I think it's gonna be Tender is the Flesh. Well, either this one or Hooked on the Game. I'm gonna put both. Hooked on the Game was like 190. Favorite cover of the year. Thinking Done and Dusted. I just love it so much. It's so like cowgirl. Do we have a runner-up? Let me think if I have a runner-up. You know what? We do have a runner-up. I didn't like this book, but the cover of it, I have to admit, is stunning. A book you haven't stopped thinking about. You know what? A book I haven't stopped thinking about is Ice Planet Barbarians. I think about those little blue those big ass blue aliens all the time, because I just think it's so funny how fast I flew through those books in a weekend. I read like 5 in a day and a half, which is crazy. If you want to get to your reading goal, go read about some blue aliens. That's all I gotta say. Cringiest book you read this year? Ooh. I feel like if I was reading a super cringy book, I would have DNF'd it, but here's the thing. After I DNF a book, I pretty much black it out of my memory. But, oh, I remember the series this one was a part of. I don't know if the one I'm about to mention was necessarily the cringiest book. Oh my god. No. Scratch that. Was this technically cringy? I want to say Fix Her Up because she was a clown, but I genuinely don't think it was actually that cringy. The cringiest book that I read this year, I think I'm gonna say You Swear. I feel so bad that I didn't like this because someone actually bought this book for me, and I feel so bad that I didn't like it. Like, anytime someone buys me a book and I don't enjoy it, I feel sick to my stomach because I feel like the worst person ever, which I know it's fine. It's just not my taste. I feel bad. I did not like this book. I thought it was kind of cringy. But so many people love this book. So if you haven't read it, definitely give it a shot, because a lot of mutuals that I tend to have the same book taste as love this book. Something about it. It could have been right book, wrong time. But for me, no. Unpopular book that I loved. You know what? I am gonna say that dystopian book that I read, A Beautiful Surrender. I have never once heard a person talk about this book, except for the one singular person that recommended it to me on Instagram. I thought it was so fun. It's like Spicy Hunger Games. Wattpad edition. Has like 73 reviews on Goodreads. I had a blast. I read it in a night. What was the highest and lowest rated book you read this year on Goodreads? Do you agree? Okay, the lowest rated book is probably Alpha Inmate. If you've been here since like August or September, you know. I think I rated it like 1.5 stars. This is partially my fault though, because I didn't know what the Omegaverse was. Or I kind of knew about it, but I didn't actually know, and I didn't know this book was a part of the Omegaverse. So I went into this without that knowledge. Mistake number 1. And I was like, what the fuck is going on? And then I was like, oh wait, this is kind of fun. And then I was like, oh wait, I don't think this is working for me because I wasn't prepared. This one just didn't work for me. However, I did read this book in a night because I also couldn't put it down. Highest rated book, I have a lot of highly rated books, but some of my 6 out of 5 star books for the year: Out on the Limb, Butcher and Blackbird, the Mindfuck series, Love Theoretically. Yeah, those are some that are pretty highly rated. Favorite quote of the year. I don't know this shit off the top of my head, so I'm gonna put it here. And if I don't find anything, I'm gonna skip over this question. Books with the most unique concept. That's a good question. I think I want to say One Dark Window, because I really loved the fantasy aspect of One Dark Window. I loved the cards that were displayed in this book, and if you read it, you know the cards that I'm talking about. And when you touch a card, you have the power that that card embodies. I really loved that. This is the first book that I'm thinking of, so I'm just gonna say this one. Book you read that you would reread. Pretty much any of the 6 out of 5 star books I just mentioned, but let me find a different one. I'm just gonna find one on my shelf that I would love to reread. Take a Hint, Danny Brown. And I'm going to say this book because I listened to the audio version of this and I feel like reading it would be a really good experience. I loved the audiobook. I loved the narrators. And because of that, I think I would like to reread it. My camera died, so we're switching over to this one. Another book that I would like to reread is The Secret History by Donna Tartt. See how much I annotated that? I didn't necessarily speed read through this, but I just feel like I'll feel the same way about this one as I did when I reread Ninth House for the first time. I think it'll be even better the second time around. Plus, my dark academia phase is hitting, and I've been reading Babel recently, and I think when I'm done with Babel, I'm gonna want to jump straight into another dark academia book. So it's either gonna be a reread of The Secret History, or I'm gonna start If We Were Villains. Maybe both. Probably both. 2024 reading goal. I posted about this on TikTok and Instagram, but some of my reading goals for this next year, I want to read 150 books. My reading goal for this year was 100 and then I bumped it up to 200, but I think I want to do a happy medium. I always hit a reading slump in December and I kind of feel like I'm in one now, but I also want to hit my reading goal and I don't want to feel that like push and force to read. So I think 150 books is the goal I have for next year. I definitely want to read more BIPOC authors and books with more BIPOC characters in them. I want to shop used more than I shop new. I'm definitely going to still be taking Barnes & Noble's trips and like local bookstore trips and stuff like that. But if I'm wanting a popular book and I want to buy a popular book, I want to go to Pango Books first or a used bookstore first, see if it's there and buy from that rather than immediately going to Barnes & Noble and buying a copy that I know there's probably a bunch of used ones on the market for sale. What are some other goals? I think that's kind of it. After 2023 reading, what are you prioritizing in 2024 reading-wise? I think that kind of ties into my goals that I have for 2024. Nothing crazy. I can't think of any specific thing that I want to absolutely prioritize in 2024. Prioritize my reading goals that I just mentioned. And that's it for today's book tag, and I will see you guys tomorrow.